Okay, let's continue our lessons today on Kubernetes. Today we are going to be creating our first Kubernetes cluster and talking very much about what Kubernetes is all about. In order to practice Kubernetes, we are going to talk about minikube and what minikube is all about, because minikube is a smaller version of what Kubernetes is. Then we are going to see what is a manifest file. We are going to talk about the components of a manifest file. Then we are going to see some types of Kubernetes objects, because we cannot talk about all the Kubernetes objects. You will be meeting most of the Kubernetes objects as you are going on deep into your career. Then we are going to create our first pod today using a manifest file. So that is what we are going to do for today. So let us head up directly to our console. Okay, so we are going to create one instance. We are going to create just one instance, and then from that one instance we are going to install minikube inside. So what is minikube? Let's first of all create our instance. No, let's first of all talk about minikube. All right, minikube, as we said Kubernetes. Yes, Adija. Yes.
I thought it was a question you asked. I wanted to
Okay.
answer the detail I know about me.
Yeah. Tell me, what do you know about minikube?
So I know it's a lightweight tool that allows developers to run a single root Kubernetes cluster on their local machines.
Great. Exactly. Now, that is just the ideology about minikube, because we said this to be able to work with Kubernetes. What do we need? We need several different computers to practice Kubernetes. Just to practice Kubernetes, you need several different computers. Like, you need one computer which is the main computer, like the master, and then you need the second computer, which are like nodes, the third computer, which is again like another node. So we have one node or two nodes, one master. You can have the fourth computer, which is another node, as many computers as possible, which are all nodes, right? Now, how will somebody practice Kubernetes and learn Kubernetes when he is having just his simple laptop in his house? It is going to be very difficult for anybody to practice Kubernetes, because you are not going to have this platform of different computers. Okay, so minikube then comes in and it provides you with one computer that you can install one computer, but inside that one computer you are capable of installing both everything that is found in the master up here, and then you subdivide the various parts of that one computer into different nodes. You can divide it into 2 nodes or into 3 nodes like this. So you have one computer, you have 2 nodes inside, one master and 2 nodes. That means the master platform and the node platform are all found inside one computer. Now this can help you now to practice Kubernetes. That means you can have a Kubernetes cluster inside your one computer that is made up of one node, one master and 2 nodes. There now you can start practicing all the various commands and all the various acts and all the various functionalities of Kubernetes, which are going to be the same thing when you are going to be working with a real cluster. Okay, so this is all what minikube is. It's just a simplified version of Kubernetes for you to practice. That is minikube. All right. After knowing what minikube is, let us actually set up our minikube platform. We are going to set up our minikube platform following this. You should understand that minikube has some necessities for you to set up your platform. Let us look at those necessities for the type of EC2 instance that you should use. Minikube gives its own recommendations for its own type of EC2 instances, but I'm going to give you my own recommendations. When you want to set up a minikube cluster, you make sure you go for a T2 medium computer. This one is payable. This is the side where some of you are going to burn again this account. You go for a T2 medium computer, then you go for a T2 medium computer. Of course will come with the higher properties, that is the higher RAM properties, and then you go for 20 GB of hard drive. Go for 20 GB of hard drive. If you don't do this, your cluster will fail. You go for 20 GB of hard drive. Always work with the Ubuntu user, not Ubuntu root user. Ubuntu user. If you work with the root user, you are going to fail in installing minikube. Always work with the Ubuntu user. I hope by now you should know the difference between Ubuntu user and root user. That's the user of the EC2. I think we did that with Solution Architect. So here is what we are saying. Let us launch our cluster. I hope you can see now very well. Now let me reduce it again. Take the Ubuntu. Now here, if you run with T2 micro, it is going to fail. Okay, you run with T2 micro, it is going to fail. Now T2 medium is payable, please, so you do not misuse it. Don't practice for hours upon hours upon hours, otherwise they are going to bill you. Don't practice upon hours. So the best thing will be install this in your local machines. But before installing in your local machines, try to install it first of all in the platform, okay, before you install it on your local machines. So this is T2 medium. You take T2 medium, then you select your key pair, select your security group, and then here you increase your okay. Now we have increased our disk space, so we have 20 GB of hard drive. We have T2 medium instance, and T2 medium instance has at least 2 CPU and 4 GB of memory. This one will really support minikube without any problem. Okay, now we launch our instance. Okay, our instance is launched. Let us log into our instance when it is ready. Let me bring it closer so that Ajita should not be saying that it is small. Okay, as I did say, we are going to if you change like this, obviously we are always changing into SU and then move to higher user, right? Don't do that. If you do that and install it, you are going to have issues. Always install with the other user, with the Ubuntu user, right? Always install with the $sign in front. Make sure the $sign is in front before you are installing. Always make sure the $sign is there before you are installing. All right, let us start running our commands. In order to install Ubuntu, we are going to have a series of commands to run. I have prepared a script here, which I'm going to send the script over to you. This is our script. You are going to run, I prepared this script with the idea that you are also going to run the script into your personal computers. So I prepared the script that when you are running your personal computers, you should make sure you run the first command here, and I've directed you what all the commands are doing. The first command actually removes any Docker containers if you already have any Docker containers in your private machines. It will remove them and reinstall them. So you should run this command to remove all the various Docker containers and reinstall them. But this one is a new EC2 instance that I have, so I don't have any Docker container installed in it. So I'm going to start from the second command, which is I'm going to update my repository. After I update my repository, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the prerequisite softwares. These are all prerequisites for Kubernetes, for Docker to get installed. Okay, these are all the certificates for Docker, the Docker agent to get installed. I'm going to just copy all of them and run. Yes. The next one will be I'm going to now add the PGP keys. This is where our Docker agent is going to be downloaded. Adding the PGP keys. Next thing, I'm going to add the repositories of the key that I've just added. They will tell you, always read when you are installing this thing. Don't just rush the command and then you go. You discover that this command has not yet run completely, so they will always tell you press enter to continue or control C to terminate. To cancel, I press enter. After this is being installed, I'm going to update my repositories, because when they install, it is time to update. Now, after I update my repository, I am going to now upgrade. There's a difference between updating and upgrading, right? You are going to upgrade. In your case, you will be in your WSL. So you are going to upgrade your WSL. So yes, you are going to upgrade your Ubuntu WSL. But with us here, we are upgrading our Ubuntu AMI. Now this update is going to take some time because you are updating the whole operating system. So you give it some time while it performs its updates. Of course, you are going to interact with it at some particular points. So when those points will come up, I'm going to tell you what you have to put there before it gets validated. Okay, when you reach here, when you see this this daemon that comes up, which service should be restarted, just say all, right? Just press tab and then it will come to OK, and then you press enter. If I press tab, there is a keyboard on your key on your keyboard called tab. When you press tab, it will come to OK, and then you press enter. It continues. So here we are. We have finished running it. The next thing is, after upgrading our system, now it is time to install the Docker engine. please make sure you run these commands in the exact order that I am running them. In the exact order. I know somebody like Declan will say that, can we not just run the script directly one time and we go sleeping while the thing is installing? No, you always have to run it in the exact order. So when you are here, you still press tab, it comes to OK, and then you still press enter. It comes on, and then now we are trying to add our Ubuntu user into our Docker daemon. That has been added. So let us start the Docker service. The command to start Docker service. This is an interview question. What is the command to start a service in your operating system that you have used? So it is service docker start. Because you cannot have experience and you are saying that you have experience with Docker, blah blah blah, and then you don't know the command to start the Docker service. So it is service docker start. The command starts. Now we install minikube. This is a script to install minikube. The second thing we do is this one copied the minikube artifact, and then this one is going to install it. All right, the next one is we configure the Docker driver to be the minikube config to take effect with the Docker driver. So we are saying that we are going to be using Docker as our container service. When we do that, we restart Docker again. Good. In your local system, it is going to be a one-time configuration, so make sure you go for it. So in your local system, this particular line will take some time to run. Okay, this line like this will take some time to run, but in our cloud platform, since we have very high functionalities of our Ubuntu system, it might not take a lot of time, but in your local machine, this one will take some time to run. So let us paste that. We are actually starting the minikube. So you give it some time for it to run. In your local machine, this might take even close to 15 minutes, so you get patient, especially for those of you who do not have very powerful operating systems. You have just your normal i5 machines. It will take a very long period of time to run, but normally i5 should run it very fast. but the cloud platform version is faster. These are part of the reasons that we said in order to study cloud computing, your machine should be of an optimum environment. If it is not up to that in these environments, you're going to find yourself into huge serious trouble. Okay, what did it say? Done. kubectl is now configured to use minikube cluster and default namespace by default. Okay, we are good. We are on the right platform. Now let us install. When we were running commands with Docker, we always start with Docker run, Docker install, Docker this, Docker that. When we are going to be running with minikube, we are going to be installing it using kubectl. So let us install kubectl. That is what we are going to be using in order to run our minikube commands, kubectl. So let us install kubectl now. kubectl is installed. When you finally reach this environment that says kubectl 1.28.2 from canonical installed, you know that you have finally arrived your destination. Okay, and when you arrive your destination, to prove that you are arrive your destination, you can run your first kubernetes command, which says kubectl get ports. It will tell you that there are no resources because we have not yet installed any port, right? Now, no resources found. This shows that we have successfully installed minikube. That means minikube is actually saying that it is present. Okay, minikube is present in our computer right now and it is functional. So we have gone through the complete installation of minikube. You will not see in the internet all these various commands that I've given to you in this order. To tell you the truth, I had never installed minikube during my training. I never installed minikube successfully. I tried so many commands that are found in the internet and they all fail. So these commands that I've prepared for you are a mixture of commands that I've taken from different environments and put them together, and they install minikube in a very nice and easy way to go. So I've done all the job for you. So I'm going to give you the scripts and you are going to make sure that you run the script always in the order in which I have given you, following all the respect all the various lines that I have done and run it just the way I have done it. If you don't do it just the way that I've done it, you are going to have an error thrown back to you. And when this error is thrown back to you, you are messed up. You are totally messed up. Okay, so our platform is ready now. We can begin our studies in this platform. So if it was Docker or Docker Swarm, what shall we do? The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to just say Docker run, and then we download a port, and then whether an image, we take an image from Docker Hub, and then we run. That is a typical Docker style. But with minikube, with Kubernetes in general, what we do is that in order to run Kubernetes command, we must prepare a Kubernetes manifest file. That is where we are now. What is a manifest file? What is a Kubernetes manifest file? We need, before you can run any Kubernetes information or tell Kubernetes to do several things or create a Kubernetes cluster of whatever form, you have to prepare a manifest file. So here is what our manifest file is. I prepared a definition for you. I am still a teacher, at least I know how to prepare my notes. So let me try to zoom it still. A manifest file. A manifest file is a YAML file that illustrates and contains the information that Kubernetes needs in order to create resources. DevOps engineers write manifest files and then execute them in pipelines. So this is the workflow of Kubernetes. You are going to write a series of manifest files, and then you are going to add those manifest files into your code repository, and those manifest files will be executed through a CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so let us first of all learn how to write a manifest file. Okay, we are told that DevOps engineers, what they do is they write manifest files. Okay, but as I still continue to tell you, DevOps engineers are really having a large scope. You can never perform all the DevOps practices in a single job. It is difficult. You can go for a particular job and your job will be just to be writing Kubernetes manifest files, and that is your main job. But it doesn't cancel the fact that you should know all the other functionalities of a DevOps engineer, because you are interacting with all of them. It's like everybody knows everything, but each person is doing a particular task. That is how the work division is done. So we have Kubernetes manifest file, and we said it is a YAML. It is a YAML. It is written in YAML format. Okay, don't forget this. The Kubernetes manifest file is written in YAML, because they will ask you in the interview, which language is Kubernetes YAML file, manifest file written? Which language? It is written in YAML. Okay, components of a manifest file. In order to write the manifest file, how many parts does a manifest file have? What are the various different parts of a manifest file? The manifest file has 4 big parent part of sections. All right, we have 1, the API server, the kind section, the metadata section, and the spec section. So under the API server, you are going to define something. Under the kind server, you are going to define something. Under the metadata server section, you are going to define something. And under the spec section, you are going to be defining something there. Okay, so let us take each and every part of the manifest file and see what we are going to be defining inside that part. So we have the API server. What are we going to be writing besides the API server? And first of all, what is the API server? An API server is the very first section of the manifest file that is declared. That means you start by declaring the API server. Okay, it actually acts as a reception department in Kubernetes, in a Kubernetes cluster. API versions are like packets of code. That means there are a different packets of code whose versions correspond to different Kubernetes objects. It's like we have several Kubernetes objects, and each Kubernetes object has a particular Kubernetes API version that it uses. So for each Kubernetes object, you are going to ask yourself, this object like this, which version of which API version does it use? So when you are writing your manifest file, you first start by defining the API version with respect to the object that you want to create. So that is the API server for you. Now, there are 2 types of API servers usually used. There are the API server, the V1 API server and the apps/v1 API server. So when you talk about the API version, you are going to talk about either you are using v1 or you are using apps v1. Okay, generally these two types are always that they are used by mainly all the Kubernetes objects. Then we have the kind. In the kind section, what goes there? In the kind section, you are going to tell Kubernetes the kind of objects that you want to install. The kind of objects that you want Kubernetes to install. Most often, you are going to be treating with objects like pod objects. A pod is an object. You're going to be treating objects like pod object, deployment object, replica object. We are going to come to that. Let me not start confusing your head with all this type of words without us actually going into it. So just know that in the kind section of Kubernetes, you are going to declare which type of object you want to use there. Then the metadata. Metadata is where you give the name of your object. That is, you are going to give some nomenclatures to your object. You can put anything under metadata. Some companies even say that you could put your name, you that created that particular object, you should include your name, or you may include company name or something like that. So under the metadata section, you can put anything, but the name of the object is always part of the metadata section. All right. Now this is the most important part of the Kubernetes YAML file, the spec department. The spec department is the most important section of the Kubernetes YAML file. It is as long as possible. It can be as long as possible or as short as possible. So it is a parent section that has so many subsections. So under this section, what are we going to be putting? We are going to be putting various subsections with respect to the particular object that we want to create. For example, we might want to create a pod and tell Kubernetes to multiply that pod into 20 of them. All that instruction is going to be given under the spec department. In the spec department, we are going to declare which image should be used in order to create that particular object. Okay, which image we need to use in order to create the object. That definition is going to be occurring under the spec department. And even under the spec department, we are going to be giving the name of the particular pod that we want to create. We are going to be illustrating a nomenclature that is going to be universal to identify the pod that is running in that particular cluster. All right. So with this in mind, let us create our first pod using all our first Kubernetes object using all the various things that we have just learned now. I would like us to create a Kubernetes manifest file together, right? We should start together and create right up to the end. All right, let us go back to our terminal. How do we create a Kubernetes manifest file? You create a Kubernetes manifest file by first of all giving the name of the file, right? You give the name of a file and then you start writing your manifest information inside the name of that file. So what we are going to do is we are going to first of all create the file by giving the name of that particular file. So let us create the file. Vim, you can use any editor that you want. I am using Vim. Let us create a file called Vim web server. We said it is a Kubernetes, it is a YAML file, so you must put .yaml. This is a server that we have created. This is a file that we are creating. Remember, it is web server.yaml. That is the file that we have created. Okay, now inside here, what should we do? We should write our information that we want Kubernetes to execute. And the first information that we want to pass is we want to, let us first of all define what we are trying to do. We want to install one port of Nginx. Let us install one port of Nginx. This is a YAML file that install one port of Nginx. So if they ask us install one port of Nginx, what are you going to do? All right, you are going to write lines of code here. You are going to write lines of code here that are going to be used in order to install that your one port of Nginx. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Let us install our one port of Nginx. So here, the very first thing that we are going to do is we are going to write an API, define our API server, our API version, please. So write API version. And then 2 dots. A port uses the version v1. Okay. Now, after writing API version, the second thing that we are going to define is the kind. What is the kind? Of course, we said we are creating a port, right? We are creating a port. Then the next thing is, what is the metadata? So here is where I said you can write anything with respect to your company's line of action. Okay, so under our metadata we define the name of the object, which is Nginx port. And then from there we are going to define its labels, and under its labels we can write anything under its labels. For example, I can write the author, which is my name. I'm the one that is creating it. Okay, that is the author. And then I can also write the type and say this one is going to be a reverse proxy, right? This is just me writing some, these things are not going to be used by the Kubernetes to do any execution, but they are just nomenclature under metadata at the level of the object. Is just metadata that you want to label yourself with it. Okay, so I put reverse proxy. Then now the next thing that we are going to write is the spec section. Now with the spec section, it is having the same power. Yes, Declan.
I do not quite get the type. Why reverse proxy? I do not quite get
It's just
the idea there.
the type here. The type, I can give any type, any name at the level of type, right? I can give any name. It just try to tell me what this object is going to be doing. A reverse proxy is just some sort of a port that brings back information into your cluster. That's just, we know what Nginx does, right? So I'm just trying to like give it its tag name. Nginx is a web server, so it is just like giving it its tag name. You can give anything here. You can call it whatsoever server that is sending to the world, or what is a server. So you just give a name.
Okay.
Okay.
And then up at the metadata, is it okay like that?
Metadata. Of course, it should be metadata. That is a typo.
And again, sir, does it follow a particular syntax or you just
It
write?
respects, YAML respects the what do I call the parent. We talked about YAML, right? It respects the parent
Yes, sir.
syntax very highly. If you miss the
Okay.
parent syntax in YAML, you are going to fail.
Hmm. Okay.
You are going to fail. So after we are going to write this, we are going to make sure that we verify it by using our syntax verification. We are going to verify it by making sure that the pre-written code that I wrote, I should make sure that it is at the same indentation. Okay, we go now to the spec department. That is where I said the most important section, the spec. Now in the spec department, we have the first thing is we are going to just give a simple container here, right? We are writing a simple, we are just creating a simple pod. So let's keep things very, very simple. So we are giving containers. Let us just pass one container. The container name will be apps server, and the container is going to come from which image? Container is going to come from the image nginx. This is a simple Kubernetes manifest file, as simple as it is. So this manifest file, we have the API version, we have the kind, we have the metadata, we have the name, we have the labels, we have our all labels are what we can put here under metadata. And the most important section is the spec section. In most Kubernetes YAML file, the spec section is almost always close to some 30 lines long, 30 or 40 lines long. So we are going to be seeing what is always occupying the spec section. Okay, let us compare it with the file that I prepared to make sure that we got everything right. Okay, this is the file. So we have our API version, which is v1. We have our metadata. The kind is a port. Our metadata, the name is nginx, labels, author, type, then the spec, containers, name of our container is the app server, and then the image is nginx. I think we are good to go. So let us save and quit. So if I run ls, I will see that here is my file that I just created. Now this is my file. How should I run the file in order to make sure that my manifest file gets executed and the pod get installed? To run Kubernetes manifest file, the command is kubectl apply -f, and then you give the name of your manifest file. Kubectl apply -f, you give the name of your manifest file. When I run this, I'm expecting that it should execute. Okay, it doesn't execute. It says error validating web server.yaml, error validating the data kind not set. If you choose to ignore the errors, turn validation off with -- validate equal false. Now they are telling me that the kind is not set rightly. So let me check on what they are trying to say. Kind. So let us enter our manifest file and verify what they are trying to say. Vim. They are saying that my kind is not rightly specified. Let me see. I think port is supposed to be in capital letters. Let's try that and get it. Port is supposed to be in capital letters. I hope so. So let's run it again. We are saying that web server YAML error, data kind not set. Data kind not set if you choose. Okay, let us copy the information from here. Generally, what I do is I generate my Kubernetes YAML file from the internet and I pass my commands directly. So let us copy it and paste. Okay, there should be a space here. Let me see. I think that is where the problem is coming from. Let us replace this with what you have. Ooh, this is some shit here. Okay, let me see. Is there a difference with what we had? Alright, let's validate and see. And then we run. It still doesn't validate. Web server validating web server.yaml. Let me check what is going on, please. Kind not set. Get that. Next spec. Get this. All right. I see everything is okay. check something. There is a problem at this level. I get it. I think that is the issue. There is this dash here, and it was not referencing this particular port very well. So let's try this. And we run. Resource mapping not found for name Gnex port. Namespace from web server.yaml does not match for kind port v1. Seriously? Okay, let us debug together, please. Okay, there was an image here. Where is it coming from? There's a G here. I believe we are good to go. And then we run again, and then it still comes back to it. Okay, let us run this, and then we create a different one, and then we run. I believe we have made a shady deal with our let us run this. Server.yaml, and then we copy our information and we paste. And we save and quit. Then we run kubectl, apply -f server.yaml. Now it runs very comfortably, but I'm curious to see what happened with this other file. Let me try to check the two of them. This is a file that we ran. Is it that much different with the one that we have just run now? So you see, these things can mess up your life if you are not careful to take care of the little errors that you are committing. Because if you commit an error and then you do not try to find out what the error is, and at the end of the day you succeed, you just say, you have succeeded, you will still fall into that same error and you have not learned. So I'm trying to find out what is the problem with these two files that we have here. What can be the problem? Let us try to really find out, please. We have two files that we have run, and one succeeded and the other did not succeed. If I am like Adija, I'll just say finally I succeeded and I go away. But that is the wrongest thing to do. So let us try to compare these two things and see what is not right. Look closely. Can you see any difference between the two? So we have API version v1, have API version v1. Okay, this V is capital V. Can you see that? This V is capital V, so it should be small v, and we solve this problem. So we finally debug. And to show that that was a problem, let us change this V to small v and see whether it executes. Because if it doesn't execute, then we have not solved any problem. Okay, before we execute the other one, let us first delete the one that we have already executed that is running. So kubectl delete -f server .yaml. Okay, it has been deleted. kubectl get port. Make sure that there is no port that is running. No port is running. Now let us execute now the first one. kubectl apply -f. Now we want to apply the first one that we have just solved its problem .yaml. That was a web server .yaml, and it goes. So the highest thing is you debug a problem, and when you debug a problem, you are as happy than working without a problem. Okay, the moment you debug a problem, you are as happy that you have debugged a problem rather than just working without problem. Now if we run kubectl get ports, we are going to find that we have the Nginx port is running, right? The Nginx port is running. It was started 32 seconds ago, just now. Okay, now if we want to get more information about the Nginx port, we run kubectl get ports -0 wide. Now when you run kubectl get ports -0 wide, you are going to see that you have more information now, right? You have the time, the IP of the port, very important. This you can actually run this IP and you are going to see the port running. So you have everything that is given to you. Okay, so here we are going to be now practicing. We have installed our first port, which is a simple Nginx port, and the Nginx port is running successfully without any problem. We can as from our next class, we are going to be installing now. We are going to talk about different types of Kubernetes objects and how to set up the kinds of Kubernetes objects and what those Kubernetes objects they do. We are going to talk about replica controller, replication set controller, deployment set. We are going to write complex manifest files in Kubernetes. And let me show you something. Well, after having written this Kubernetes manifest file, some of you will be like, wow, will I ever remember all these things and be writing it off by heart? As we keep saying, technology is challenging us. Technology is challenging us. ChatGPT, that is, it is already made there to be working for you. Okay, That is why programmers are so afraid that ChatGPT is going to take over their jobs. Uh, let me just show you something here, so that you see how you should be working very fast, but it should not make you that is weak and lazy. Try to write the files, but don't spend your time killing your head that you have to learn everything that is going on there. No, don't do that. Just try to learn the necessary ones. So let us go to ChatGPT and see what is going to happen. I hope most of all of you have accounts with ChatGPT. All of you should have accounts with ChatGPT, right?
I don't really have to.
You sign up very fast. How are you doing your research? How do you do your research? You see typed in Google and enter web pages.
No, sir. I do in Wikipedia.
In Wikipedia,
Yes, sir.
you are as old as the century, Adija. You are as old as the century. So if
And Firefox.
and that is why I'm saying in Firefox, that means you are simply just going to Google web pages, right? Now, okay, I have ChatGPT here. If I just say, please, can you write a Kubernetes manifest file to deploy a Nginx pod, right? Make it simple. All right. Are you see? ChatGPT just wrote what we have been trying to write, and it is developed for us. ChatGPT would generate to you all these manifest files, and you should be ready to just know what you need and arrange it to suit what you want. Okay, with technology today, it is to help you now go faster. So the way I look at ChatGPT today, I look at ChatGPT like a calculator in the hands of a science student in upper six, right? You know, in form 1 and 2, they don't need you to enter an exams with a calculator, a scientific calculator for that matter. But as you are moving up to form 4, all mathematics exams now are calculator free, because you need to be going fast. So you have to be using calculators in order to go fast, and you have sign this and sign that you need to be using and going fast, right? So ChatGPT is to me like a calculator in the hands of a science student. It generates you the basic from what you need, so that you should not spend your time doing the cramming and all the like. The basic is generated for you, and then you that master what you are doing, you arrange that basic that has been generated to suit now what you actually need. Okay, so that's ChatGPT for you, and that's how you should use it. All right, let me allow you guys to go and sleep. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes,
guys,
sir.
see you tomorrow or see you on Saturday. We are going to continue with Kubernetes. Make sure you practice it very well. Good night to everybody.